Hello, Dr. Grissom. This is Vincent and Tim's demo for the Project 4 submission. So we'll just start off with the screen 2. So you can see here we have our buttons for the user ID. So Tim ID, Vincent ID, and then all. And then our time duration buttons here, 15, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, temp, humidity, and light, and a get average button at the bottom. So what we can do now is if I have Tim ID and then 30 seconds and humidity, and we press get average, it should send a request.
Probably press it again.
Let me zoom out. Yeah, maybe it didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Now it says making request to Timo get average cloud function, and then we can also see our response here, which is getting passed as like a JSON. And then you can see back here we have our sensor, humidity, our average, our range, 5 data points, and a rate of 0.24 data points per second. And then over here
in the
on
logs.
Yeah.
So here's all of us capturing all the documents for Timo ID. And then
this is the Timo get average function.
yes. And then we find data points after filtering the time. And we find 5 valid epoch times within the 30-second time frame. And this is the time frame that we found, which is 21 seconds out of 30. And then we return the average value of whatever the payload sent. I forgot if you did temp or humidity.
I did humidity.
Okay, bet. And then now...
and you can see, I think at the... Where's the most recent log?
the one that says average value.
Yes,
That's-
you can
this is what
see
we
it was
return.
just at 8:19 at
Yeah.
2 seconds, and it's 8:20. So, and that was about a minute ago. So that was my M5 getting data from Tim. And so now we can show that Tim can also grab data from me. So he's going to select Vincent 30 seconds temperature this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if he presses get average, it takes a second.
Let me see my...
And then, yeah, go to the serial.
Oh, there
yeah,
it
you
goes.
can see making request to Tim will get average function, the temp data type with our average value and everything. And then if we go back to our Google Cloud, it should show, oops, sorry, the zoom is a little off. Yeah, you can see 8:20 at 54 seconds. It just turned to 8:21. And then here we have the temp with the average of 23.05, or 6 data points, 0.23 data points per second. And then we also have the range of data points, duration in seconds, and yeah, all that, I think, for the screen 3.
And then just to demo that this data is being uploaded in real time.
Yeah, you
Let
can
me
delete.
just clear.
So this is my screen 1. So screen 2 was the data fetch buttons, and then also the data results once the average is received. This is screen 1. You can see it's going to be updating every 5 seconds, and then it's going to show the VCNL data, the SHT40 data, accelerometer, and the user ID. So you can see it says Vincent ID.
Oh,
And then,
there's just so many.
yeah.
I tried clearing the collection, but look, I delete it.
There we go.
There we go. And then if we refresh,
Vincent ID,
there's
data
a new
points.
data points, and then we should see that the data is being added in real time. There we go. That was just a new one. And then, so Vince is uploading to the same Firestore, and I pulled data from it, and vice versa. He pulled from the same data store and got my ID where I got his ID data. So,
And then,
yeah.
yeah. So I believe that's everything for the demo. And then now we can go ahead and go into the code side of things. Talk about you can see we're still pushing at the bottom. Every 5 seconds it's uploading. There was, when Tim was deleting it, you might have noticed that the doc ID froze, but it's updating. So now for this is our code. We'll go all the way to the top. We have our imports, obviously, our Google Cloud upload function, our Google Cloud average function, and then all of this is pretty much the same except for our user options. We have an array, which is Timo ID, Vincent ID, and all, which is passed to our buttons. Our duration options, that's also sent to our buttons. So this is all just for our buttons to be displayed. Let me make sure that this is focused. And then the indexing, just to start at 0. We have an enum with each of our screens on it. And then we set our current screen to the main screen. We initialize our I2C devices, Wi-Fi, and then our time client. And then here's our time variables, device details, structure, all of our method header declarations, and then touch button struct. We have the X, Y, the width, the height. And then user buttons, there's three duration buttons, 3 type buttons, and a get average button. And then to draw the touch button, this is just a method where we're gonna draw like the X, Y, width, height, and then give it a color. So that's just for the touch buttons. In our setup, we're going to initialize our device, fill the screen to black initially, set the text color to green, initialize the vCNO 4040, initialize the SHT40, connect to Wi-Fi. This is all stuff that we've gone over. So, and then here's our setup time. So we wait for the NTP client time sync, and then we make sure that the time is synchronized so that when we show our time, it's the correct timestamp. And then we have our last updated time and our update interval, which is used down here for our main screen to make sure that our main screen is updating our data every 5 seconds. And then so we have our button A. If button A is pressed, then we're going to set it to main screen. If current screen is main screen and button B is pressed, then we're going to go to the data average config screen. And then if button C is pressed, then we're going to go to our make data average request screen. So that's pretty much most of, and then if our current screen is the data average config screen, we're going to initialize all of our buttons. So you can see here, we're going to do 3, the light was kind of, we're going to do 3 iterations to go over our user buttons, duration buttons, and type buttons, and then our get average button to draw all of our buttons on our screen 2. And then loop main screen is what is called to make the HTTP request. So here you can see we have, this is pretty similar to what we had before, our serials for prox, ambient, and white light. You can see we're just getting the accelerometer like we did before, the time client, our device details, and then if there's no SD card, which we don't have, then we want to post our data. And then we want to initialize HTTP, begin an HTTP request to the get firestore function. And then if the code passes, then we're going to set our payload string to our HTTP, and that's going to be passed in as our payload to update display with a timer delay. And then in update display, we take in that payload, and if there's some sort of error.
This is the last one, bro. We gotta get through. We're already at 10 minutes. Let's go to like
yeah.
somewhere else.
So this update display, that's, I believe we already went over that, and this is all. And
This is
then
a new one. This is a new
make
function.
data. Okay, there you go.
So this is our make data average request. This is us hitting the new endpoint to get the average. So we define it up here, and then we concatenate whatever the user selected from the buttons, which Vincent explained on the average screen, where like you could select the parameters. So We just concatenate the selected user ID, the duration, and then the data type. And then we initialize the HTTP client with the GET request. And if we get a 200 code, we return the response, the payload. If there's an else, there's like an error screen, and it just tells you what type of error code it was. Here's the show data average config screen. So this is us basically just defining the config screen with all the buttons, and this is where the user can select whatever parameter that they would like to pass in to the get function. And then here's the show average result. So this is the third page. So this is where we return the payload, but with to the screen, which is the sensor which was selected, the average, which is the average number that was computed, the range, basically the time frame, the time range that was selected, the point, so how many data points were returned, and then the rate, so how many data points per second. And the average and everything is calculated within the cloud function, which we'll show later. This is our convert time function, which converts the epoch time to month, day, and year value, so that it's easy to read on the screen. All of these are just other functions which were in our
These are like SD
card stuff that we don't need. And then
yeah, all the same methods as before.
The Google Cloud function. So it's called get average, and then we just initialize the Firestore, the collection name, sensor data. So what we're exporting is this endpoint get average sensor data. So basically we define these constants for the parameters, so the data type, time duration, user ID, and then we have these fallbacks just in case they aren't provided. So the function will always work. It'll always defaultly give you these three options, but it also takes in request headers from the get. And then this is us adjusting to Pacific time for the epoch time. These are console logs. We have a fetch user data function, which fetches the data for the user based upon the ID. We define the collection structure right here. We await the data points. And then here is us going into the time captured, ordering it in a descending order. And then for each document, we take the time captured and we compare the time captured with the start time. So the start time is basically the time that the Google Cloud function is initiated. So let's say it started at 12:30 p.m. We're going to compare all the time captures in the documents with the start time to see if it's within 15 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds prior to the start time. And that's how we fetch them. If user ID is all, we just get all user IDs. Otherwise, we get the user ID for the one that was selected. Here is us just mapping the different structures of each collection within Firestore. And then here's us handling the timestamps. Other details, time captured is the way it's laid out in the Firestore. Here's all the other variables which we get from the Firestore. And then here's us defining the JSON object that we're going to return. And here's the catch error. And then
All right, that's pretty much it, I believe. So thank you for watching, Dr. Grissom. Have a good night.